now. So this session will be available on Vision after the event, and I'm sure there'll be lots of hints and tips that you'll want to go back and get from it. We'll be sending out a feedback session, letter next week, a form that you can fill in. Please let us know what's worked for you. We want to put on more of these events. We want to put on things that are useful for you. So please let us know what you think, and we will continue to deliver on that. So into today's session. It's the last session of Bootcamp, and we are so delighted to have Kallum with a K Russell along with us today. Kallum is not only an entrepreneur himself, but he has a business supporting potential entrepreneurs to take that leap and move into setting up their own business. He's also a graduate of Heriot-Watt. So we're particularly pleased to welcome Kallum back to Heriot-Watt University. And I'm going to hand over to you now, Kallum.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll put my video on so you can all see me. Lucky you. Hey everyone, great to be here. Although I wish I was with you in person, but sadly we'll get there one day, I'm sure. So thank you for giving up your morning to be here. I've got some slides I'd love to share, but even just would make it really helpful for me and more enjoyable if we can have a bit of a discussion throughout the session rather than me just speaking at you for the next hour and a half, because that would not be fun for me and I'm sure wouldn't be fun for you. So let me just, as I get my slides up, ask, has anyone started a business already? Or has anyone got a business idea? Just shove it in the chat would be great, please, just so we get a bit of a flavor of where you guys are at. And I will share my slides as you do that. Oh, now we've got the weird inception thing that we like. We'll get rid of the screen very quickly as soon as you guys have put in the chat. So just try and bear with that. Really weird kind of inception thing, like I say. So yeah, if anyone's got a business, whether it's an idea or you've just started, just put it in the chat, let us know. It'd be great just to, and if you've not, just put no, just so I know that you're actually listening to me. You can hear me okay, would be great. And also put what you're hoping to get out of today's session, and that way we can really tailor it for you. You know, why did you sign up? Why are you here? What would you love to know this morning in the hour and a half we have together? Oh, you've all gone shy. Well, we'll have to change that. We'll get started, but if anything does crop up or anything occurs to you, just drop it in the chat and I'll try my very best to come back to it. I think it's challenging to see the chat when I've got my slides up, but hopefully I can get some help from my team members, Sarah and Keith, today. So yeah, I can just see from Catherine here that you haven't got a business yet, but that's cool, Catherine. But you love being creative, so it's something you want to see if you can get a business out of. And that's how a lot of businesses start, is hobbies. People just pursuing their hobby, whether it is being creative or cooking or whatever the hobby may be. And okay, is there business here or is there not? And that's really one of the main aspects of today's session, is just to work out, is there actually a business here or not? Just to give you some tools for doing that yourselves. So we'll get rid of this horrible screen. We'll go into the slides. So today we're going to look at the entrepreneurial mindset that we've rebranded as the entrepreneurial mindset, which sounds much better, and we'll tell you what that means. This is the menu for today. I'm going to kick off with a very short story, and then we'll look at, well, why do small businesses matter and why should you really care? Talk about the future, baby. Then we'll look at what can prevent students and graduates from starting a business in the first place, and also some of the pitfalls, things that can trip you up, just to watch out for. We'll look at a thing called the 2 pyramids of business awesomeness, and we'll wrap up with some final thoughts on life and business. And again, we'll have plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. Well, maybe definitely questions. We'll see how good I am at answering them, though. If you are on Instagram, please give us a follow and make us more famous. That would be awesome. The company's the top one, Unpreneur. We post inspiration, practical tips, nonsense, a bit of fun, all things business, really. in my personal account, which I'm very annoyed I couldn't get Kallum with a K. Years of personal branding undermined because I couldn't get it. I really post some business stuff, but mostly I love when I'm not working cooking. I'm a massive foodie. I love eating out. I love eating food. I love cooking. I love talking about food. So mostly food, craft beer, music. I'm a huge music fan. I collect vinyl records as well. I love going to gigs when we can do that. And I love traveling, again, when we can do that. So that's us on Instagram. But let's kick off with the short story that I promised you. So it was June 2013. It was a beautiful summer day. The sun was beating down. The birds were singing in the air. You could smell freshly cut grass. It was like a proper summer. And I was in my office down in Rosyth, which, if anyone is from Fife, you know is just next door to Edinburgh, but next county over 20 minutes away from Edinburgh. And we're in the office, and it's myself and my business partner, Jerry, and we're meeting this young guy who came to see us, a young graduate actually came to see us because his business just failed. So he sat down and started telling us his story, and he was saying, when I was at school, I struggled to know what I wanted to do. Then I was kind of drawn towards business management. When I was at school, I had friends. I did well academically, but I just thought I saw the world differently. And this guy's telling us a story, and he's getting quite passionate about it. You know, he's saying, I then went on to university, and again, I did business, and again, did really well academically, made some friends, but I just didn't feel like I quite fit in. And it wasn't arrogance, it was just, I just saw the world differently to everyone else. I think I was wired differently, and there was always a disconnect between me and my friends and me and the lecturers. And then this guy, after he graduated, started a business. And he put so much into this business. He was telling Jerry and I that, you know, I worked morning, I worked evening, I worked afternoon, I worked 25, 26, I worked 27 hours every single day. I put my life savings into it. I didn't see my family. I didn't see my friends for a whole year. I missed my best friend's stag do because this business meant everything to me. And after months of hard work, months of money, months of effort put into this business, it failed. And he got really upset when he was telling us this. He was saying he just felt so lost, and he started crying. Actually, he got really upset. He was saying, you know, I couldn't leave my bed. I didn't actually leave my house for 3 months. I just couldn't face the world because I felt like a failure. I felt like a fraud. And his phone kept ringing during this time that he didn't leave the house, and he just didn't answer it because he couldn't face speaking to anyone. And the same person kept ringing and ringing and ringing. And after about a week, the boy answered the phone. It was actually Jerry, my business partner, phoned him. He said, look, I know you're having a tough time. We know your business didn't work out. Come down and meet Kallum and I. We'll both have a coffee with you. We'll see if we can help you, because we'd met this guy at a business networking event. No, I don't want to leave the house. I'm not leaving the house. I'm not leaving my bed. I don't want to see you, and I don't want to see Kallum. And Jerry persisted with this boy. Look, just because your business failed didn't mean that you failed. Come and have a coffee with us and we'll sort you out. And the two of them went backwards and forwards for about an hour, and eventually this guy agreed to come and see Jerry and I. So we met for a coffee. He's telling us a story. He's getting really upset, as I said. And Jerry said during the meeting, look, there's something special about you. And although your business didn't work out, I think I've got a new project that you might be great for. Who, me? The boy said. Are you mad? My business just failed. Are you not listening to me? Why the hell would anyone want to hire me? I'm useless. I'm a failure. I'm an absolute fraud. And Jerry persisted, saying, no, you're not. The business just didn't work out. But there's something special about you. I can see it. If only you could believe in yourself. And again, the two of them were going backwards and forwards. And eventually the boys said, well, let's just see what this is then. And if you fast forward a few years after that meeting of, let's just see what happens, let's just try this, I've got nothing else on. They created a business that has helped lots of business owners across Scotland and the UK start businesses and grow businesses. That company was called Acre Enterprise, a not-for-profit. Out of that company spun my company, Unpreneur, and in the last 2 years, we've helped lots of students and graduates start businesses. With the businesses we helped have contributed over £2.5 million to the Scottish economy. They've created over 60 new jobs, and they've filed 12 patents. And we're very proud of that. Because what I didn't tell you in the story was the boy was me. That's my story. My first business failed. I felt like a loser. I didn't leave my house for 3 months. Jerry kept phoning me. Eventually I answered. We met, and let's just try this. Let's try again. Because sometimes, guys, starting a business, you will fail. And it just takes you to try again. It's an important point. And that's what I'm sharing that story is. No matter what you do in life, if you fail at something, you can always try again. You can always try again. And the second point of the story for sharing that today is there's always something else looking out for you. You may not even know at the time, a sort of guardian angel who's looking over you, like Jerry was for me in a way. There's always someone who's got your back. So for us at Unpreneur, that's what we want to do for the students and graduates who work starting businesses, is to be their guardian angel, to look out for them, to help them. As I fight back the tears, I'll tell you the rest of the presentation. So as Sarah said, I'm a very proud graduate of Heriot-Watt University. I graduated 10 years ago, this July, with a degree in management of marketing, as it was called at the time. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And as I mentioned, I was kind of told by my parents and hinted at by my lecturers to get a graduate job or a grad scheme. And I just didn't want to. I knew myself I didn't want to, but I thought, well, I better apply just to shut them up. So I remember being at night doing different marketing graduate schemes for Cadbury's and Procter and Gamble and whoever else. But I was doing it like an hour before the deadline, so clearly wasn't my best work, and I wasn't really fussed about it. And I was on the Heriot-Watt Careers website one day, and this startup company that was actually in Edinburgh, it was actually a spin-out of Edinburgh University, was looking for a sort of business marketing executive. And I thought, this sounds interesting. It's a startup. It just sounds a bit different. Applied for the jobs, met the guys, and wow, you know, what a ride. And that's what started it for me. So although I actually took a job when I first graduated, I also started my own business at the exact same time. And it was quite great to work for a startup, because when I got, you got money coming in, which is great when you're starting a business, you need money, pay bills, but also to grow the business. But secondly, I got a real insight into the startup scene, which is great in Edinburgh, great in Scotland actually, but really good in Edinburgh. Everyone's so passionate about what they do, and that made a huge impression as a young graduate on me. And for me, I told you in the story that at high school I didn't feel like I fit in, and I told you at university I kind of didn't really fit in. But when it came to the startup scene, I finally felt like I fit in a way that everyone's quite weird in the startup scene in a really positive way, and everyone's really positive and driven, and they've got that passion, that hunger, which I've always had myself. And I thought I was not the only one in an arrogant way, but just like it's quite rare to have that kind of mentality. And I think that it's not about looking down on anyone else or saying, you've got a job or you've got a business, but saying, well, everyone's got their own story, everyone's got their own path, and what's right for you is right for you. And I think that's a really important point to make, because you should never compare yourself to anyone else, because you've got your own story. And unfortunately, in this Instagram world, it makes it a lot easier to compare yourselves to others. And as we all know, we only really ever show the best parts of our life on social media, and it can be easy to get sucked into that and thinking that everyone's having a great time and having a much better life than you. But if you just focus on doing what you want to do and really think about, well, like you said in the comments about you've got a creative element to you, then maybe you could pursue that for a business. Who's to say you can't? So I think that's what today's all about, really, just that kind of what if, as I had, that what if. Let's just try this. Let's see what happens. Let's test this. Let's experiment and see what happens. This is a man who really needs a shave. This is filmed during lockdown. Last October, we filmed a promo video for Unpreneur. So Unpreneur, as I mentioned, is quite a new brand. We launched it last October. So it was previously Acre Enterprise for the last 7 or 8 years. And Jerry and I still have that company together. not for profit, but I started Unpreneur myself, it's my business for the first time, which is quite interesting. So we had a new brand, a new feel, and we really focus on working with students and graduates who are serious about starting their own business. And also we work with a lot of universities and colleges. Since January, we've started working with 12 universities across the UK, 12 new customers, which is really, really quite explosive growth. So it's been a really great start to the year for us, that's for sure. But ultimately, as I said in the story, Unpreneur is about building the business support I wish I had when I graduated. You know, on the one hand, you could say all the mistakes and the failure of the first business and all of that led me to where I am now, which is true, but it's taken me 10 years. I really wish I could have accelerated that whole process and not had such a painful journey. And that's what Unpreneur is here to do, is just kind of share the collective wisdom so that you don't make the same mistakes that we need to make you go a lot faster and a lot further is the plan. And I will eventually stop plugging Unpreneur, but I think it's important that you know, you've committed to being here for an hour and a half, so I think it's important to know a bit more about me and what I can bring. So we do business courses, training and mentoring for students and graduates serious making an impact. And then the final thing about us, just looking at the future, is our big goal is really to help students and graduates make a positive impact in the world, whether that's through starting a business, which we lean into quite heavily, or this session is called the entrepreneurial mindset, because no matter what you do when you graduate, whether it's starting a business, working for a charity, working for a big corporation, working for a small organization, doing a gap year, doing more studying, you need to adopt this, what we call entrepreneurial mindset. We'll look at that in more detail later. And ultimately, our vision is we want to be the global rock stars for student enterprise. We do see Unpreneur as a global company. We've already started working with the University of Norway, so we're branching out of the UK already, and then hopefully in the next few years we can really grow across the globe as the plan. So let's talk about you now. Not enough talking about me. This is also coming up with some audience participation, so just get ready for that. Oh look, this slide, I promised you. I'm going to just stop sharing for a second just so I can see the chat, because it would make it a bit easier for me. But just a question to you guys is, what do you think can stop or prevent students and graduates from launching a business? I'd be very interested to know. Please put in the chat, what can prevent students and graduates from launching their own business and growing it potentially as well? Yes, Catherine, lots of laughter, but you are right. Having no money, absolutely, is a big one. Absolutely. Alexander, yeah, bad timing. Timing's so important. If you're too early, the market's not ready for you. If you're too late, you miss the boat. So it's a really difficult one. Timing is a really important one. About the interest in your idea, absolutely. And also moolah, yes, definitely. More money, for sure. Rachel's in fear of failure. Yeah, I totally hear you on that one. Totally understand it. But we're going to really touch on that one today as well, and the money one. You'll be glad to hear, because in our experience, they can really prevent students from starting. You know, like so early that, because I think most people at some point in life have had a business idea. Very few do something about it, and we don't think that everyone should have a business because the world will go into chaos, because we need that different skill sets. But for those that do have an idea, it's about what do you do next. Yeah, Alex, really interesting about your time may never be right again. And this is a really funny one. You know, there's never a right time to launch a business. There's always 1,005 reasons not to launch a business, whether it's, you know, a global pandemic, I've not quite graduated yet, my business card's not ready yet, my logo's not done, I need more money, oh, there's a competitor, oh, it's raining, oh, my granny's cat. Like, you know, there's 1,001 reasons not to launch, but you just have to go for it sometimes. Yeah, you've answered your own question or your own point there, Alex, about you have to just push through it anyway. Absolutely. No business owner is ever 100% ready, ever. You can't be. Catherine makes a really interesting point about lack of connections within the industry. Yeah, that can be a good one, depending on what you're doing. It's very context driven, that one, but yeah, I agree with you entirely. Certain things you might need more connections with, and that can maybe hold you back. As we'll talk about later, having a graduate job can help with that one, because if you secure a graduate job in the same area as you want to launch a business, you can start collecting people, as we like to say, or making connections in your industry whilst working in your startup, whilst getting paid for it in a graduate job. Yeah, great stuff, everyone. So thank you for sharing that. We'll just jump back into the slides, but please keep up the engagement. It is much appreciated. Makes my job a lot more exciting than just speaking at a white wall and a webcam. Okay. Back to the slides. So we talk about a thing at Entrepreneur called the 3 big blockers, but you have to say it like this. You have to say it like the 3 big blockers. Isn't that like the best animation you've ever seen? Like, our team are so talented. Can I just thank my team for a second? But you've all covered them really in the chat. The 3 big blockers are, in our opinion, of working with students and graduates for 9 years through our Acre Enterprise and Entrepreneur now. I don't have an idea, or I've got an idea, but I don't know if it's good or not. So that whole piece around idea, the number of students and graduates we speak to who say, I'd love to have my own business one day, I just don't have an idea. We're going to tackle that exact point this morning. The second point is around money, as many of you mentioned, or moolah. Prefer moolah, definitely, but money for sure can prevent people. And the third one is that whole fear of failure, not have enough experience, not enough contacts, connections, as was said in the chat as well. So just that whole piece around not feeling ready yet, I guess. So we're going to tackle the 3 of them. There are other ones, but those are the 3 major ones that we hear quite a lot, and you guys in the chat have kind of backed that up in a way. So all businesses start with an idea. And if you strip away all of the emotion, all of the jargon, all of the ego, all of the nonsense that's spoken of business, all businesses do is solve problems on a commercial basis. All businesses do is solve problems on a commercial basis. And what we mean by that is, it's really simple. Find a problem worth solving that enough people have and are willing to pay you a fair rate for, you can make a living from. And this is the difference between a hobby and a business. And hobbies are important. And we are absolutely not here to criticize anyone's aspirations or life, as I said earlier about comparing. Everyone's got their own story. But if you want to make a living from your business, you must treat it as a business. In our experience, creative people, sorry to say this, are sometimes the worst for this because, for example, we've worked with so many graphic designers or photographers, or worked with a few jewelry, jewelists, maybe is the word, I don't know, jewelry people. And they're really talented when it comes to the designing or the photography or the jewelry. They're not so good at the business part. And there's various reasons for that. Mostly, it's they just don't care about that part of the business because they're creative people, they want to just do the fun bit. And that is exactly why their business will fail, or it will only get to a certain level, which if they're happy with that, that is absolutely cool. But if you do want to grow, or you do want to have that kind of more regular income, you must treat it as a business. And what we mean by that is, yes, by all means, do the logo work, do the photography, do the jewelry, but you also have to do all of the other parts that comes running a business: marketing, finance, sales. And the challenge is, if it's just you starting the business, it can be very tough because usually one person cannot do marketing and finance and sales and the job and well. You do them all, you do all of that, but you won't do them very well. And you'll lean towards, it's human nature, you'll lean towards the bits you find more fun. And you'll ignore the bits that you don't like. I'm sure you're the same with your university course. I did marketing. I love all the marketing modules. Wasn't too hot on the finance modules or anything else. For me, it was you just kind of lean more towards the things you enjoy. But there are ways around it. And I do hear the chat. There's a noise I can tell. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second, just jump to the chat, just if anyone's got a question at this point or anything else to add. Yeah, really great point, Alex, actually. Hopefully I can call you Alex now that we're friends. I'm going to just chance it, Alex. Every bit is important. Yeah, absolutely. So you have to delegate what you can. And I I totally agree with you. You have to start either delegating or outsourcing. And what that means is we've started doing this ourselves actually is at Unpreneur, we don't have any staff, but we are working with 8 different freelancers on a weekly basis or a daily basis. We've got a team of 8 really who do various things for us, whether it's marketing work. We have a weekly YouTube channel, which I'll plug again later, called Student Enterprise TV. We've got a video editor who edits them for us, and then someone else who uploads that to YouTube for us and writes the description. So all I have to do is film it, which is the bit I love and I'm good at, and then they take care of all the rest. And in that one task of creating a weekly YouTube video, if we choose as we do in the channel, there are 21 steps. And I think I do about 4 of them, and everyone else does the other sort of 19 or whatever the number is. See, I can't do math. But you can only do that when you have a certain amount of money. You can only delegate or outsource when you have money. So the challenge becomes you need to raise your prices or raise your value so you can raise your prices so that you have the money to invest in employees, freelancers, outsourcers, able to delegate. So it takes time. In your first year, you're in this sort of survival mode. You just take on any work you can, you do it yourself. And then as you get more towards your second, third year, you need to be more selective so you can grow. So just from the pure reason of what we said a second ago about the more money you have, the more you can invest into the business, such as outsourcing, freelancers, all of that. Yeah, Alex, great point about when you do delegate, make sure it's those that you trust, or at least you know what you're doing. And this is like such a great point. Business owners are generalists. You know, like I know a little bit about finance, very little. I know a little bit about marketing, a lot more actually. A little bit about sales, a little bit about this, a little bit of HR. I know a little bit of all things. And the business owner's job is to collect or find specialists in each of those areas that they can afford, that can help them with marketing, with finance, with sales, because putting your ego aside, there are better people at those tasks than you, the business owner, which is hard to admit, hard for me to admit, or anyone else to admit, to say, there are people out there who are better than marketing than me that could add a lot of value to our team that we could afford right now. So you need to know just enough to be able to ensure that the people you trust are doing a good job. So therefore, just so you don't take the mick out of you or take advantage of you, so you need to know enough just to get by so that you can actually check they're doing a good job, which can sometimes be tough. Like, how do you know that law advice is good or accounts is good? Because you have to go to uni to do an accountancy degree and do a law degree and then do further qualifications. It's a difficult one. So I'm going to jump back into the slides, but it's a really great point. It'd be helpful if I click the right button as well. Thinking about it. Yes. Okay, hopefully you can see the slides again. I want to talk about Faisal, who unfortunately I've cut his head off. I don't know why I've done that. Sorry, Faisal. So Unpreneur, the team and I, we actually run the incubator on campus, albeit right now it's virtual. So the Edinburgh Business School have an incubator, which you may or may not know. It was created in 2018, and I have led on that ever since. So we're coming up for 3 years this July of the incubator, and in that time we've helped over 30 businesses from all walks of life, as you'll see in a minute, all different sectors. And Faisal, it's got a really interesting story. So Faisal is a complete nerd, and I'm sure you won't mind saying this. I'm a geek, he's a nerd. He's a bit more of a nerd than I am. And there's a sort of spectrum there. And he's an inventor, he just likes making things. And Faisal had a problem, or rather, Faisal's partner had a problem with Faisal. Carrie, his partner, they had their first child together, Thea, who's very adorable. She used to always be in the incubator when that was allowed. She used to come and help out. She's about 2 or 3 years old. She's so cute. And but when she was first born, Faisal would make things in the house, usually on the kitchen table. He'd be working away with soldering irons or bits and pieces, just tinkering away, and it'd be quite messy at the end of a night. And also, it's, from what I hear, perhaps not the best thing to have screws and nails and heavy tools lying around when you've got a baby at home. So Faisal had to come up with something that, you know, he could fold out during the day, could use for his soldering, his tinkering, and then at the end of the night, you could fold it away again and put it under the bed or put it in a cupboard or put it in a bookcase. So he couldn't find anything that he liked for the price point, so he made his own thing. Faisal's an inventor. He solved his own problem, and this was it. Inventapod. You can see there on the orange T-shirt. This is what he made. This device, and as you can see, it can be totally customized. So it's some orange drawers on it on the left-hand side. It's got a computer on that one. It could hold a 3D printer. It could hold all sorts of things. So back to what I said a minute ago, businesses solve problems on a commercial basis. Faisal solved his own problem. He needed something to, as I say, make his any worktop into a area he could do his work, and at the end of the night fold it away. So that solved that problem. Tick. Commercial basis. Now he had to sell the thing to prove it was a business. So he actually managed to sell quite quickly to Heriot Watt, some other schools, local libraries, and he started making some good sales. And Faisal was designing this himself as well. He was buying in the parts, making it, selling it, finance, marketing. He was doing all of the stuff we mentioned a minute ago. And for whatever reason, he hit a ceiling. We could talk about that at another time, but for whatever reason, Faisal, he just couldn't sell anymore. And there was a lot of pressure. He's got to make the business work. He's got the little one at home. He's got his partner, Carrie, as well. So after a year being in the incubator, after a really tough decision, having put in so much time and money and effort growing this brand and this business, he decided the best thing was to close it down and try something else, try a second business, because he needed something that really solved a bigger problem, something he was super passionate about, and something he could actually make a living from. And this is Faisal's second business. And you may have seen it. It's been in the news all over BBC News recently. They've been all over the place. Solaris Kit. It's on the back of the bike there, and that is Faisal there. So I've not cut his head off this time. So Faisal and his team have developed, and I'll get this right, the world's first prism-shaped solar thermal collector. Whew, we got there. Solar thermal collector. And what that means is his device takes energy from the sun and can be used to heat up water. And as you see, it can go in the back of a bike, so it's really portable, it's really cheap, you can easily assemble it yourself. And for him, the biggest market is the developing world, where sadly, even in 2021, there's still not reliable electricity all the time. And actually, just before the pandemic, Faisal secured a grant from the UK government to test this in Rwanda for a year, and then COVID hit. So again, Faisal had to change his plans a little bit, and is right now at the moment focused on the UK market in terms of glamping, hotels, anywhere really that uses electricity to heat up water on a big scale, and it's got a flat roof where this can sit. And if you look at the pattern there, you know, in the last slide, what we talked about, where do ideas come from? Business ideas come from solving problems that people have. The first business did that, solving a problem, but it didn't tick the second part of the definition I gave you earlier, on a commercial basis. Must make money doing so, because he hit that ceiling for whatever reason. The second business solves a problem, tick, on a commercial basis. Yes, it's a bigger problem, and there's more money flowing into this for solving this problem, so he can make a living out of it. And what I didn't tell you earlier is Faisal is also, he's got a PhD in renewables and solar energy, so he's actually really passionate about it. So this this box, and I'm sure Faisal won't take any offense with saying that, wasn't really ticking the boxes for him. You know, any conversation with Faisal turns into the environment and climate change. He's so passionate about it. He's actually really worried about where we're heading as a race. So he's really determined to do something about it for his daughter as well, so that, you know, the next generation, we have a hopefully really clean planet. So I think the secret there is follow your passions, like Faisal did, renewables, solve a problem, but make sure it makes money doing so. Otherwise, you're going to hit the ceiling, as Faisal did with the first business, or it'll always be a hobby, which, if it is a hobby, that's great, because we do need hobbies to make life more exciting. If you're going to live off it, you need this business to make the money to pay bills. Don't be afraid to try a second business. And I hear the chat pinging, so I'm going to just stop sharing for a second and come into the chat. Sarah saying that looks brilliant. Yes, it does. As I say, Faisal's a lot of press recently. He's actually relocated to Dundee. He's one of the first businesses in what's called the Michelin Innovation Park over in Dundee. So he's moved his whole family from Edinburgh to Dundee, and they're actually building the first run of these Solaris kits right now as we speak, and they're going to ship them out to Africa. So because the restrictions are easing, they're able now to focus more on the developing world, and that's where he's doing just now, him and the team. Yeah, there's some great stuff coming in. Exactly, it's a solar thermal collector. So exactly, it collects energy from the sun and converts it into heating up water. Oh, yeah, I like what Alex is saying here. The box is an idea, the prison is his passion. That's a really eloquent way to put it. It's much better than what I said. So thanks for that, Alex. Definitely. Okay, back to the slides for a second. I'm just going to stop sharing my camera for a second because my computer's going a little bit laggy, which we don't want. And I'm also going to take some water for a second. Important to keep hydrated. Okay, so we've covered the point around ideas. Where do ideas come from? Well, ideas come from solving problems. So if you're struggling to come up with a business idea, look for problems. And sadly, right now, because of COVID, the world has a lot more problems, which for business owners means there's more opportunity to help people. And this is where I take real issue, is it's usually portrayed in the media or in the news that business owners are negative or greedy, you know, like Mr. Burns and The Simpsons. I think that's completely untrue. Yes, there are people who are like that, but generally the vast majority we've worked with in the last 10 years are all very positive people who are really passionate about solving problems and helping people. And yes, they make money doing so. We need to talk about money. We shouldn't be scared of that. But most people we work with, are doing it to solve a problem, to help people, rather than just making money, because it's so tough. There are much easier ways of making money, I can assure you of that one. There's some more pinging happening in the chat, so I'm going to just quickly go to that to make sure. Alex, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is, Alex. Yeah. It's profitable, but also helps people. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay. So we've worked out a business is all about solving a problem and making money doing so. But you also need money to start a business, or do you? There's a really big misconception that it requires a lot of money to start a business. And that is true for some businesses, but not all, as we'll look at now. Not all businesses need as much money as you think. And even if you have no money right now, because I remember being a student, I know how poor I was, there are ways you can create money to grow your business, to start your business. We'll look at them now. I've got a quick story to share with you about big company you may have heard of called Airbnb. If you haven't heard of that, again, before COVID, which I now need to say before every single slide, before COVID, Airbnb allowed people to either rent out a spare room in their apartment, in their flat, in their house, and equally for those who didn't want to stay in a hotel or wanted a different experience, you could just stay in someone's house. And it was a service that brought those two parties together. There was three guys that co-founded it in America, and they needed money to actually start the business, which they didn't have. They were working full time. So to get enough money to launch the first app for Airbnb, they literally became serial entrepreneurs. That's my granddad joke for the day. And what they did was, it was in 2008, during the election between Barack Obama and John McCain in the United States, and they made a limited edition of cereal, and the idea was they made some for Barack Obama, and they made some boxes for John McCain, and the idea is you would buy the box for the candidate you were supporting in the presidential elections. And the guys did it all themselves. They bought in the cereal, they bought in the plastic bags, they bought in the cardboard boxes, and for 3 months they sat in their flat and glued the cardboard boxes together for the cereal. They put the cereal into the plastic bags, so they glued them shut and sold them. Do you want to just put in the chat how much money you think they made in 3 months from selling cereal? This is always interesting for me, so just put it in the chat for a second, and I'll jump to this chat. Okay, we've got a first suggestion from Sarah. I won't even react to it. I'll just say thank you for now. I want to know how much money collectively the three of them made in 3 months selling cereal. So I don't want to know the price of the cereal. I just want to know how much money you think they made together as a group selling cereal for 3 months, is the question. Some very good suggestions coming in. Give you another sort of 20 seconds. Anyone else has got any suggestions? Yeah, dollars or pounds would help me, that's for sure. But preferably pounds, if that's okay, please. Last chance for. Okay, here we go. So, the suggestions are 3 guys made selling cereal in 3 months. Got $5,000 each, which I'm guessing is 15,000. Just my good maths coming into account. 15 to 45,000. We've got 50,000, 25,000. We've got 8,000. So a really interesting little spectrum there. So thank you for sharing that. They actually made $37,000 in 3 months, which is about, as I've just quickly Googled, £26,000. So Rachel, you were about the closest, I think. So well done with 25,000. But yeah, they made $26,000 selling cereal in 3 months. Ridiculous. And what they did was they branded them limited edition, as I said, and they were selling them for like £1,000 each in some instances. They were going on eBay and Amazon as collector's items, so people were just paying ridiculous money for them. So back to the slides. So even if you don't have any money, you can create something that's maybe called a side hustle, or if you've got old stuff you don't use anymore lying around your flat, you can sell that. Old clothes, old shoes, some of your university textbooks that cost like $50,000 each. You know, you can sell stuff to make money to grow your business. And the final point here is around that whole fear of failure, lack of confidence, not feeling good enough, not feeling ready, not having connections, that whole thing around still learning, still being inexperienced. That's all in your head. This is the incubator that I mentioned earlier, and that's Faisal on the far left. This means head is definitely not cut off. And if we look from the left to the right, this was the first intake of the incubator in 2018. Faisal did solar energy, David did renewables, Christine did an MBA, Gary did finance, Jill did fashion, I also did fashion, as you can tell. No, I did marketing management, as I said, and Anu did the MBA as well. So quite a broad split in the group between those that did business and those that did not study business. I much prefer this photo, but the marketing team wouldn't go for it for some reason. It doesn't matter really whether you did business or didn't do business. In some instances, you can start a business regardless of what you studied at university or college. Think of all the experience you have to date. Yes, your course is very important, but also out with that, what hobbies do you have? Where do you work? If anyone's traveled to the UK to study, I think that's massively, it's massively impressive for anyone that comes to a different country to learn or to start a business. It's, I think that's super amazing actually. And in the incubator, we have currently got 7 people who have come to the UK from overseas to start businesses, whether it's Zimbabwe, America, South Africa, Peru, India, Vietnam, Thailand. We've got a really amazing mix in the incubator from different backgrounds, and that's what makes it so exciting for me anyway. So think about all the things you've done in your life, all the skills that you already have, and you can learn things. So if you know you can learn things, surely you could learn to run a business too. If you just break it down to baby steps, think about anything you've learned in the past, how to cook, how to drive. They're all, at the first, they seem really daunting. How do you learn to drive or how do you cook? But once you start day by day chipping away at it, breaking it down, it's not difficult, and business is the same. We've all got skills, we've all got hobbies, as I mentioned, and you never know where they can come in useful. And another point we made earlier about delegating and stuff is you can also do a skill swap. So say you're a photographer and you need a website done, you could say to someone, a web developer, I don't have any money right now, but if you build my website for you, I'll do some photos for your products or for your company, for your staff, and vice versa. So you can skill shop or barter. I'll do this for you if you do this for me. So that's a really kind of underappreciated currency, I guess, in this space, is just a skill swap. Where you lack money, you need to think differently. And ultimately, you learn by doing. As I said earlier, nothing really prepares you for starting a business. You need to just start it. You don't need to go all in. There's this really terrible myth that you have to drop out of college or university to start a business, or you need to put your life savings into it, or you have to quit your job. Absolutely not true. You dip your toe in, you start small, you experiment, and maybe you go part-time in your studies or go part-time at your work if your business takes over. And then you slowly, once you've proven it works, you can quit your job or put more money into your business or more time into your business. But you don't need to do it straight away. It's a really bad myth. However, there does come a point where you need to go all in your business. You do need to go 100%, but that's not at the start. Absolutely not. You learn more by doing. Your first year of business will be your best education in terms of how to actually run a business. All of this stuff is around mindset, and this is a graphic our team made during lockdown, which I'm really quite proud of. We're all affected by the pandemic. Clearly, we're all affected by it differently. I totally appreciate that, but your mindset, I can't start a business because of lockdown, or I started because of lockdown. You get to decide your mindset and how you look at things. And this was actually inspired by a girl that I met called Kirsty, who's also a Heriot graduate. She graduated last year and got a graduate job, and then COVID happened, and sadly she was let go from her job. And she was like, well, I'm not going to let this stop me. I can't find another job. I'm going to start a company. And she just started these beautiful platter boxes in Edinburgh, and they're absolutely delicious. And she started selling them as a kind of thing to do. I need to make money. I need to do something. I'll just try it. For her, it was actually just as a result of not getting work. It was just, I'm just going to do this and see what happens. And Kirsty was actually the first ever person we interviewed on our YouTube channel that I mentioned earlier, Student Enterprise TV. Fast forward 1 year, she's now got a little team working for her who do deliveries. And she's also just taken on her first premises in Edinburgh, which is really exciting. I'm really proud of her. And that's all within less than a year. And she just did this because she had a project to work on while she was looking for another job. Whereas this has now become her job. She's created her own job and she couldn't find one. And that's such an important point. And we're going to find that now with you guys graduating is if there is a lack of work out there, you might need to create your own job like Kirsty had. Don't see that as a backup option. It's a very viable career, having your own business. It's not for everyone, but if you do want to pursue it, like if you've got an idea, if there's a problem you want to solve, you want to pursue your passion, if you want to paint for a living, then absolutely look at it because it is possible. Other people have done it. So it is really important you think about your future. What is next? What is after graduation? I know you've had this boot camp with me today. You've had a few sessions this week if you've been to the rest of them. There's other opportunities with the careers team coming up, but it's really important to think about what sort of life do you want to have? Do you want to go traveling? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to work for a graduate company? Do you want to do more studies? Now is a really time to think about all that. But also it's okay not to know, in the sense that, part of your 20s is finding out what you don't like doing as much as it is what you do like doing. So I think it's the same for any age, actually. It's not just your 20s, but for me, I just left my 20s, I'm now 30. I think my 20s was certainly spent trying stuff. What do I like doing? What do I not like doing? And I was lucky that I found it very early on. This whole startup scene just kind of found me in a way that I was just really lucky with that. So this is just jumping into 3 other points around the entrepreneurial mindset, which is what today's all about. And this will help you whether you start a business or not. It's about those transferable skills around having the right mindset and skill set. You need to think like an entrepreneur because the world needs it. We need to solve more problems creatively. We need to be resilient. All those positive traits. So what does that actually mean in practice? And Business Stripped Back is the name of our online business course we're developing just now. This is a little sneak preview of it. This is the model that we've developed, our team and I, is the 2 pyramids of business awesomeness, and you need to master all 6 parts of it, both pyramids, to really succeed in life and business. And the first place to start is the mindset, like we're doing this morning, just setting the tone, understanding what's happening in the world, and just really how we see the world. And then if you look at the bottom left, you've got skills with a Z, because I'm trying to be cool, even though no, I'm not, because I'm over 30. Skills is about all those things we mentioned earlier: marketing, finance, sales, negotiation, leadership, all those skills you need to have as a business owner. Habits is really self-awareness, knowing yourself, understanding who you are as a person. Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Are you just always tired? Are you last minute? Or do you do things weeks in advance? I'm very last minute. Close your ears, everyone, but my dissertation was handed in like literally a minute to spare. I've still got the certificate somewhere. It was due at 12 o'clock lunchtime, and I handed it in at 11:59, which just sums it up pretty well. So very lucky to get that in actually in time. Wouldn't recommend it, but for me it seems to work. But no, habits is about goal setting as well. Where do you want to be? Like we were tapping into a minute ago. And once you've mastered yourself, you then need to master your business. And the first place we start is customers. What problem are you solving? So back to the slides of Faisal, remember, and Solaris Kit and the box, as we call it. What problem are you solving, and can you make enough money from solving that problem? If not, find another problem to solve. Humans, no matter what we do in life, we need other people, and this year's really proven how much we need other people around us. Partners, family, friends, business coaches, business mentors, accountants, they've all got a part to play. business partner, not want a business partner. And then finally, resources that bring it all together. We spoke about money earlier as well, but there's other resources, apps, equipment, software, things you just need to start a business. We're going to just tackle very quickly 3 very brief points around the entrepreneurial mindset, and then we can certainly throw open to questions. So we've got plenty of time for that. I'll take some more water. Is there any questions just now, guys, just before we move on? Just jump to the chat for a second, actually, because I've really been speaking quite a lot at you there. So I'll just come to the chat to take a drink of water. But if there's any questions, just put in the chat, please. Okay, I am hydrated. I've had my water. I'm going to go with no. Last chance for questions before we move on. Okay. Let's jump into the slides again then. So, just checking my timer as well. We're bang on 10 o'clock. This is where I thought we'd be by now. This is far too well planned. So, thinking differently, or thinking entrepreneurially as we would call it, taking 100% responsibility or ownership for your life, and something we call Professor Splice's dilemma. That's what we're going to talk about now. As I said earlier, regardless of if you start a business, if you get a job, if you do more studying when you graduate, you have to think differently. You have to think entrepreneurially. This is the only real slide with lots of numbers on it, and I have to again say my favorite phrase, which is, this is before COVID, this is before lockdown. But small businesses, which are those, according to these particular stats, that are between 0 to 49 employees, you know, they're most businesses. They are like 99% of businesses in the UK. So we're not talking H&M, we're not talking Amazon, John Lewis, Tesco, all the big companies that get all the press and publicity. We're talking small local businesses generally make up most businesses in the UK, up and down the country. So you see there, again, before COVID, there were nearly 6 million businesses in the UK. And in terms of employment, they employed, you know, 3/5 of people in the UK in the private sector, and also about half the turnover. So they really do punch above their weight. So they've got a massive impact when it comes to jobs and finances. And of course, that money is used to pay for taxes, and taxes are used to pay for a fantastic healthcare service, our fantastic education service, emergency services, and lots more. So we need more businesses to pay more taxes so that we have such a fantastic country to live in, really, in our daily lives. If you remember nothing else, this for me sums up everything you need to know. This is one of my favorite slides. It was a tweet that I stole a while ago about the entrepreneurial mindset. It's about solving a problem differently, right? So, plus I want a kebab now. Is it too early for a kebab? It's about thinking differently. Not doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. You can change your mindset whenever you want to. It's a choice. It's a choice is how you see things. And for a while, I used to think that your thoughts control you. You know, if you think something, then it must be true. But actually, feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. And actually, our thoughts do not control us. We can control them. And a great analogy I heard recently is our brain doesn't drive us. We drive our brain. It's a bit like your brain is the car and we are the driver. So we need to learn how to actually master ourselves, master our own thoughts. If we have positive thoughts or if we have negative thoughts, we're in control of that. Now I know that mental health is a very important topic, and we're really glad that it's getting more awareness, which is fantastic, especially in these really difficult times. And we're very passionate personally about mental health in our team and just that awareness of what we're doing. And we talk about it quite openly as well. So I think it's really important to reflect on the year we've had and just how you've adapted. And even before that, before COVID, if you can remember what life was like before the pandemic, just around your own mindset and how you feel about things. And you need to be fairly positive to have your own business, because it is a really tough journey. As I keep saying many times, it's not for everyone. It's difficult, it's challenging, and it's quite funny. When you solve a problem, your reward is usually a bigger problem. You know, to use a typical example and to go back to what we said earlier about employees. If it's just you in the company and you're doing everything, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the finances, you're washing the dishes, you're doing the bins, then you're burnt out, you're tired, you're exhausted. And then let's just pretend that you have enough money to hire someone. So you then hire someone, you're able to delegate some work. You think, great, that problem is solved because now there's someone else doing some of the work. I'm not as busy, I'm not as stressed. And your reward for solving that problem is now you have to manage someone else. And with that comes them not working to your standards, having differences of opinion, sick days, all of the costs of taking on employees. You have to pay pensions, you have to pay sick pay, you have to pay holidays, you have to pay taxes, you have to pay national insurance, you have to pay employers' insurance, plus a lot of health and safety stuff when you have employees. So taking on someone is a huge responsibility, it's a huge undertaking, plus all the emotional support you need to give a team member as well, around mental health, around developing them as a person, their skill set, coaching them. So taking on someone is a massive deal. And as I say, your first problem is solved, but now you've got these other challenges to deal with. And that only gets bigger and bigger. And we know people that have teams of hundreds, or even many tens, is that a phrase? More than 10 employees. And again, that presents its own challenges. When your team is so big, it can be hard to communicate. It can be hard to make sure everyone's working towards the same vision. And again, that's your reward for that problem that you've just solved. I heard the chat pinging, so let me just jump to that. Now I'm going to my new catchphrase. Yeah, very interesting, Sarah. I'm glad that you find it so in terms of the graduate context, whereas I think everyone's different. So Sarah's making a point here about a lot of opportunities are with large companies, and that is true. And they obviously do a lot of, they're able to come to graduate fairs, they're able to take out adverts, they're able to do a lot more to promote that. But, you know, I would argue that small businesses are equally, in terms of what you might learn. And everyone's different, right? So for me, I love working in a startup. I love the kind of chaos. I love the uncertainty. I love the vagueness. I loved one day you're doing marketing, or 1 hour you're doing marketing, the next hour you're literally cleaning the bins, the next hour you're doing sales. I love that kind of, whereas other people who need more structure, who need more routine, don't like that. And that's why it's so great that there's enough opportunities for everyone. So it's really important to, that's what I'm saying earlier about knowing yourself. Some people like me, I thrive on uncertainty and on chaos, I guess, and just that unknown. Others need structure, need routine, and that's fine too. And they need to find that. And that's not a startup, because a startup is very changeable on an hourly basis. And it can be quite vague, and that can be tough. And I really learned that firsthand when we took on, I think it was our second employee when we had at the time, and she'd worked for McDonald's when she was at uni and became a manager. And to go from McDonald's, which is very structured, to, as you know, a multinational brand with systems and processes, to then come to a startup where we changed our mind every other hour. There was no routine, there's no procedures, no policies for that. it was a real culture shock for her and for us. So it's just important to know what you want to do. But I would say that for me personally, this is only my experience, you do just learn loads in a startup. You learn about websites, you learn about marketing, you meet people, you learn about numbers, and that experience prepares you for either start your own business or whatever you go and do afterwards. I've had a request to turn my camera back on, which I will do. The only reason I turned it off is because it was being very laggy earlier with the slides, but I will happily share my face again. Here we go. And if it gets too laggy again, I will just turn it back off. But yes, here is me. Hello. So back on with the slides. Done that bit. So really, just to hammer it home again, the only person holding you back is you. Is you. It's still you. Is you. Is you. Just to really emphasize that point. The second point is around taking ownership for your life. So it's about not blaming your family, not blaming the weather, not blaming your grand's cat. It's about, you know, we all get to a certain point in life where bad things have happened to us, where experiences have shaped us into who we are. And you can either let that, you know, you can either live in the past or you can push through that. And that for some of us it's easier than others, and I'm very understanding of that. But when it comes to starting your own business, as I said right at the start, there's never a good time to start a business, to grow a business, and then when do you take on employees? And there are so many variables, and the odds are usually stacked against you. But you have to persist. You have to go through it. You have to be resilient. You have to keep pushing every day. And it's all about your own mindset. You have control over it, as we mentioned earlier. Just to re-emphasize these points around, if you have goals, that is what will help you, not make excuses, not blame your grand's cat. So if you know where you're going, if you have a really clear idea of where you're going in a few years' time, like say 5 years' time, this is something I encourage you all to do, is it's quite difficult to think where you'll be in 5 years, because I think, well, 5 years ago, where were we? But it's important to at least think about it so that if you know where you're heading, you can say yes to opportunities that drive you towards your 5 year or your 1 year plan. And you can say no to things that don't take you towards it. And that's something I really learned in my 20s, is the power of saying no, because I was a yes person before because I didn't want to let anyone down. It's just who I am. I don't like disappointing others. So I would say yes to everything. But when you say yes to everything, you're actually letting yourself down, because you cannot possibly please everyone. And you have to say no to stuff, because if you say yes to everything, then you're going to spread yourself far too thin and you will let everyone down because you do a really bad job. Where if you're selective about who you say yes to or what you say yes to, you do a really good job for the things that are important to you. And that's different for all of us, what you say yes to and no to. But you're allowed to say no to things, whether it's social or business, you're allowed to say no. But having that concrete idea of where you're going, your goals, where am I heading? So for us, I'll share a little bit of my thinking. I want to go traveling. It's my biggest regret from my 20s, and I want to make up for it now in my 30s. So I want to go traveling. So that's why we're moving the business online, selfishly, so I can go traveling and work by having the online business, the online course I mentioned to you guys earlier. And also, there's a university and college pretty much in every country in the world. So when we do go traveling, I can get paid to do a session in Thailand or Australia or America. And that's what we're working towards over the next few years. That's my goal. So I will say yes to things that move me towards that and no to things that don't. It's a really important point. It does take some soul searching to do this goals. And you're allowed to change your goals. But if you don't do it, you'll end up anywhere. It's a bit like if you go to the airport, again, forgive the talk about holidays during COVID, but you don't go to the airport and say, take me somewhere. You've got your bags packed, you've got your passport. Yeah, I'll go anywhere. Where do you want me to go? You go with a destination in mind, don't you? You know where you're going. But most people live their life let's just see where I go. Let's just not have a plan. You have to have a destination in mind and work towards it every day. Otherwise, you know, who knows where you'll end up. And you might not get to achieve the things you really want to do in life. And for each of us, that's different. I'm going to skip past some of this stuff because it's not relevant. We're also running out of time because I speak far too much. I guess the sum of that section is when you blame other people, when you point your finger at others, don't forget there's 3 fingers pointing back at you because ultimately it's your fault. You know, it's not good enough to say, I didn't do that because, or I think that way because of my upbringing, or I think that way because of this, or I didn't do that because of that. I'd rather just be adult and just say, look, I made a mistake, here's how I'm going to fix it. Or I got it wrong on that occasion, I'm really sorry I've let you down. How can I make it better? How can we avoid that mistake again? Take ownership. And even when someone says to you, a simple one, if someone ever says to me, if we're trying to work with a university or college to do work, and they say, Kallum, I'll get back to you guys, I always put that in my diary to say I will get back to them, because most people forget to get back to you. It's not that they're mean or evil or malicious, they just forget because it's called life. People get busy. So I always put in my diary, if someone says to me, they'll get back to me, I'll be like, right, I'll get back to them. And they're not annoyed because they usually forget. It's just life. So it's just a small point around, you own your own mistakes, you also own follow-up action, you also own the positives, just own all of it. And the sooner, I kind of emphasize, the sooner you take this mentality of everything in life I will just take ownership of, even if it's not my fault, I'll just take ownership, then you're not a victim, and then you can actually do something about it. You know, the weather affects us all. Yes, differently, but it affects us all. We can't control it. We cannot control the weather. We cannot control a pandemic, but we can control how we react to it. Remember Kirsty's story earlier. She started a business because she was furloughed, because she was let go. We're all in control of how we react to a situation. And the very last point is around Professor Spice's dilemma. Showing my age, but what's the worst that could happen? Was a really famous campaign by a very well-known drink made by Coca-Cola when I was a boy in the 90s, when I was a lad. But really, it's a really good question. What's the worst that could happen if you start a business? And this is a really good, when you've got any big decision to make, if you want to ask a girl out, if you're going to start a business, you know, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah, you get embarrassed. So what? Like, big deal. So when it comes to starting a business, really breaking down logically, what is the worst that could happen? So many people are scared of business failing or the project failing. So really analyze it. What is the worst case scenario of this business failing? What is the worst thing that could happen? Will you lose your house? Probably not, because you're maybe living at home with your mum and dad, or you've got a flat, or you're just not going to lose a house. You've maybe not even bought a house yet. Some people have, some people haven't. But generally, most students and graduates haven't bought a house, or living at home, or living in a flat. So you won't lose a house. Okay. Will you die? Hopefully not. You know, unless it's a really serious high-risk business where you're physically in danger all the time, you probably won't die. So therefore, it's not game over. You know, we could talk about that all day, but really just simplify it. There's not really anything really that bad that could happen, because what is the worst could happen? You might lose some money, yes. You might get a bit embarrassed. You might, like I did, not leave the house for 3 months. But ultimately, it's not game over, because what it really means is it's an opportunity to start again, but not start again from zero. You're never starting again from the start again. You're starting from a place of more experience, more knowledge, and more connections. You're starting from a much better position. Treat your first business, even if it fails, as your apprenticeship to either your next business or a new job. Because if your first business fails, it better prepares you for your next business, as it did for me. It's your apprenticeship. Or if you decide, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, I've tried it once, I'm going to get a job. That's cool too, because employers are looking for entrepreneurial skills. And I'm sure the careers team have more info on this than I do, but I know for a fact that most business owners that I know are looking for graduates with some sort of entrepreneurship experience. You know, if we're looking for team members at Entrepreneur, I'd love it if they had a business and tried it, it didn't work out, because to me that says you're a self-starter, you're disciplined, you're willing to take risks, you think differently, you're resilient. And what company does not want those skills? They're really sought after. So actually, there's not a lot of bad things that can happen if your business fails. You're better prepared for your next job, or better prepared for your next business. That's it. There's nothing more about that point. And I said it earlier, but you do not need to go all in at the start. Just remember that. You don't need to drop out of uni or college. You don't need to jack in your job straight away. You can just gradually start a business and grow it. And then once you've validated it with customers paying you money to solve their problems, then you can start to go more full-time into the business. Tony Robbins, the world-renowned success coach who coaches celebrities and presidents and all that, he's written loads of books around sales and I guess philosophy in a way, and just that whole piece around action. He's also got a Netflix documentary called I'm Not Your Guru, if you want to check that out. But take action. So many business owners are paralyzed by analysis. I don't want to do that because it might fail, or I need to get more research first. But this is not university when you start a business. You know, at university, you have months to do an academic report and look at this journal, and that's great. But when it comes to business, you don't have the luxury of time. You actually have to make a decision with a certain level of vagueness, not having all the facts. And that's okay. You just have to get on with it, because that is the roll of the dice sometimes. You have to have that, or be able to adapt in that arena of vagueness, of uncertainty, of not having the whole picture. And that means you will make mistakes, but your mistakes make you stronger, make you better. And we learn more from our mistakes as people. And in business, I think all the mistakes we made, we've actually made the business stronger. And just by taking action, you're already moving forward. Even if you first of all go over to the left, at least you're moving forward. Whereas if you don't take a decision, if you hesitate, then you're not moving anywhere. And a competitor might come in and make the action and make you redundant. And the final quote is from Jim Carrey, who's one of my childhood heroes. He said, "You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take the chance of doing what you love." And it's absolutely true. You can fail at a job as well. So why not take a punt on running your own business and see what happens? So just some really quick final thoughts before we go over to Q&A. Don't be afraid of being yourself, of standing out. Embrace your own weirdness. Really important to be you in this world. It's the best marketing you can do, but also more than that, it's the happiest you will be if you be your true self. Like I am like this all the time. Ask anyone. I'm like quite hyper. I'm very excitable. I'm annoying, all the time. Not just on camera with you guys, but this is what I'm like all the time. So be yourself. We've said it quite a few times this morning already, but you don't need to sell your grand's cat to start a business. You don't need to drop out of uni or college. Just make practical, day-to-day little compromises in your life to start. You know, Faisal, who I mentioned earlier, he was a full-time lecturer at the university, so he would work, say, 9 to 5. He would be in the incubator with me at 7 in the morning. So he would get up to do 2 hours of work in the incubator before his day job started, 7 till 9 in the morning, and then 9 to 5. That's how he did it. And if you do that every day, there's 14 hours. Or if you're not a morning person, do it in the evening. And if you feel that that's too much work, if it's, oh, I don't like getting up early, or I don't want to work late, then maybe you're not that serious about having a business, which is okay, but don't kid yourself. Bernadette Jiwa is one of my favourite authors. She's a real authority. She's from New Zealand on marketing and storytelling in particular. She's really passionate about storytelling and business. And I love this quote from her. I would change the word business to person. The job of every single person on the planet is to do one thing, to make people happy. And that starts with you. You need to be happy. We touched on mental health a bit earlier and that whole mindset stuff, but you need to be a little bit selfish and make yourself happy and think about, what do I want? Back to the goal setting earlier. Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? And work out a plan, break it down, and start moving towards it. Say yes to things that drive you towards it, and say no to things that distract you from your goals. One of the best bands of all time, again from the 90s, Oasis. I need to be myself. I can't be no one else. I'm feeling supersonic. It's almost 10:30. Give me gin and tonic. No, seriously, you need to be yourself. We said it a few slides ago as well with the zebras, but you'll be happiest when you're being yourself, and really embrace it in your marketing too. So I bring a lot of my own personality into the branding of Unpreneur, into the vibe that we do. I talk often about craft beer or my vinyl record collection or cooking, because that all makes me who I am. It makes it more relatable, and also put that into the business. And that's what separates us from other business training providers who don't talk about that thing. You know, we've got our own feel. We've got a really neat brand. Unpreneur, some people love it, some people hate it, and that's the way any good business should be. It should be that polar. You should have people that love you and people that hate your brand when you've got a business. And in life, who wants to please everyone anyway? So boring. It's not about what you have or don't have, it's about how you think about it. Again, back to that mindset. It's not, I can't afford that, or I can't do that. It's, how can I? So whenever you catch yourself saying something like, I can't do that, or I'm not good enough for that, or I can't afford that, change it immediately into a question. How can I afford that? How can I do that? And that way your brain starts working on solving that problem, because the brain is a hardwired to solve problems machine. Has been since the caveman and cavewoman times. It's how we've survived as a species, is solving problems. So it's never I can't, it's always how can. How can I, how can I, how can I? And the final word to Beyonce. I might keep running because a winner don't quit themselves. A business can fail, but a person cannot. You can fail in business, but you can't fail being you. You know, I failed in business. I got back on the horse. I tried again. I didn't fail, but the business did. Really important point. Don't give up on your dreams. You know, Unpreneur is, or I've had my own businesses, I should say, for 9 years now, and it's been a really rocky road. And I don't think we've made it yet, but I think we're very close to it now. This has been the most important year, I think, in the last year for us as a business. So it's taken 9 years of sacrifices, believe me. Wow, a lot of hardships, lots of tears, late nights, but also a lot of fun, meeting the best people, having the best experiences, and loving what I do and helping people. So it's a real roller coaster of both. And just remember, the only thing holding you back is you. The only thing that's stopping you doing anything you want, whether it's going traveling, whether it's doing a PhD, whether it's starting a business, whether it's working for that dream job, the only thing stopping you is you. Just to plug some free stuff, some free resources we have available to you guys. Mentioned it quite a few times. We do a YouTube show every Tuesday. Please subscribe to it on YouTube, Student Enterprise TV. If you actually put in the domain studententerprise.tv, it should take you straight to it. But we're actually on episode 49. Very exciting times. So we're going to hit episode 50 next week, which is massive. So very proud of that. So we do regular content you see there on inspiration, practical tips, and nonsense, much like the Instagram earlier. Same sort of vibe. And this is some of the most recent episodes around how to market yourself, how to find customers, and then competitors in business. We've also got blogs on our website, everything from mental health, business books, advice for you're about to graduate, all of that stuff, all on our website. It's currently getting done up actually by our team. And you've been a great audience. Again, I wish I could be with you in person, but unfortunately the pandemic has stopped that. I wish you all the very best, building your own future. No matter what you do in life, have fun. And thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. And I'm on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to connect with me, please feel free. It shouldn't be too hard to find. There aren't very many Kallum with a K's on LinkedIn. So yeah, happy to have a chat offline if my diary allows, or our team, just about anything we discussed this morning, starting your own business, mindset, leadership, anything else. Please don't be shy. Say hi. And just want to say thank you again. We've got a few minutes for questions as well.
Can I just jump in there, Kallum, and say thank you? That was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
I have a whole page of questions for you.
Oh dear.
So while our participants are getting a chance to get theirs together, yeah, this your workshop has really kind of taken me back. I brought up the sort of daughter of 2 serial entrepreneurs, and what you're talking about, that, you know, kind of throwing yourself into business and the sort of absorption of it, I could totally relate to, you know, my own experiences with that. I think one of the really hard things, and sort of, you know, looking back at that, is, you know, things will go wrong, and you will need to, sometimes you'll need to change your idea, and you'll need to do something new. So how do you know when you've got to that point where you have to pivot, or you have to call it a day? I mean, is it about having sort of mentors and external people, or, you know, how do you, because you've obviously, you're so wedded to your own business idea, it can be really hard to let go of that. So what advice have you got for people on, you know, if they do reach that point, what happens then?
It's a really good question. And having been there myself for the first business, I mean, I knew deep down inside that business was over probably a few months before I kind of called it a day. And why I didn't do it earlier is I was so scared of what people would think about me, if I'm really honest. But I knew in my heart it wasn't going to go anywhere. And despite the money I put into it and the time and missing my friend's stag do and all that stuff, you just know, like, you just know if you're being true to yourself. So I was in denial, being honest. And for me, this might not be the case for everyone because everyone is different, but it was Christmas time and I was fed up being poor. And I just kind of had a moment where I thought, you know, I've done this for a year now. It's not really going anywhere. We've tried so many different things because we knew it wasn't working for quite some time. We tried this, that. And I just, in my gut, I knew it wasn't going anywhere. So I think you just know, which isn't a really scientific answer, but you just do. And then conversely, with the first company, the company after that, Acorn Enterprise, it didn't make any money for, I'm sure this for quite a bit, any real money for a bit. But it was different in the sense that even though it wasn't making money, just how I felt about it was different to the previous business that also made no money. But I just felt differently. I just always knew this one would, and it was like a long-term bet. So it was different for me that I was willing to keep going with that business. It wasn't making any serious money for quite a lot longer than the first business, even though on paper it's a bit like, well, you're saying that you both had a company for a year that made no money, but why would you stay with this one? It's a gut feeling. I mean, it's so unscientific, but it's also speaking to people, I guess, and mentors. But then equally, even our accountants at one point said, why are you going with this business? You know, it's not making any money. Why? And I was like, just believe me, it will. But I think it's just, you just know. And money talks as well. I think, you know, Faisal reached a point in the story that I shared with him where, I mean, he's got, you know, it's almost like we've all got bills to pay every month. We've all got a certain financial threshold to hit. If you're not hitting that with the money, then that's like an indicator too. But so there's gut feeling money, but it's so different for everyone. It's hard to actually answer. But for me, it was just a feeling.
And I think if you and guys, do put your questions into the chat box for Kallum. We've got just a minute or two, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'm happy to stay. I really spoke.
Just on more sort of practical level, when you're getting started, how much actual kind of business knowledge and understanding do you need, and how much is there, you know, do you recommend going on courses, or you know, I'm thinking about things like, you know, the boring stuff, the tax, those things. How much do you actually need to know before you get started?
Everyone is different, and it depends on the business. You know, we've been lucky enough over the last 9 years to work with most types of businesses, from roofers, hairdressers, people developing apps, people like Faisal, who you mentioned earlier in the incubator. It really depends. But as I mentioned, I made a point of saying that some of those people did not come from a business background. They did not have an entrepreneurial family. They did not study business at university, whereas some have come from an entrepreneurial family and did business. So it really depends. I think it's a real focus on solving a customer problem. And there are experts out there. So like, I struggle with numbers big time, but I don't need to worry because we've got great accountants for that and good financial mentors and peers that can help. So I think you don't need to have all the answers. And just start, because you learn so much. You can learn as you go. And there are, like, the business community is so welcoming and so friendly because you're not really in competition with each other. So I think there are people out there, and I would recommend to all of you to seek a mentor out. So I will plug the career service, because when I was at university, I don't know if you still do the mentoring service, but certainly I benefit from that. In my final year, I reached out to the careers team. I did the mentoring, and a guy called James is my mentor. We still actually meet now, even 10 years after graduation. We still stay in touch, and he really helped form my thinking around a number of issues, actually. So he was really helpful, and we're still good friends now. So I think having a mentor who's a bit older, that can challenge you, that can be super helpful. But I think also we've got our own online business course that I'll plug, Business Straight Back. Forgot to mention that, but there are free stuff out there. But the problem with free is it credible? And also, where do you start? It's not joined up. It's like, okay, there's all this free stuff, but this article says this, and this one says the opposite, and they contradict. So it's about how bad you want it, because the answers are out there. You have to just work hard for it. But I think you don't need as much experience as you think, and that's another thing. There's a lot of students and graduates say, I'm going to get a graduate job first for a few years, then start a business. Well, that could be right for you, but at the same time, start. Like, if you want to just start a business, just start. Don't put it off. You'll learn so much more.
Don't let your knowledge hold you back.
Yes, exactly.
Or lack of, yeah.
Exactly.
Question here from Rachel.
Yes. Thank you. Is the incubator available for those with business ideas or established businesses? Great point. So the Business School Incubator is actually recruiting right now. As Lorraine has said, the deadline is next Friday, the 4th at 5 p.m. If you've got a business idea or a business, we will happily take your application. The only strict criteria the university will not budge on is you cannot still be studying. So you can't still be, in a full-time degree. If you're about to graduate, as in this July, that is fine. But if you're still in your second or third year, then no. But it doesn't really matter in the sense of if you're just at the idea stage. We've had businesses in the incubator been going for 2 or 3 years. It's really about the person as well as the idea. So if you're about to graduate, Rachel, and anyone else listening has that question, then by all means apply. I can just hopefully fire the link in the chat as we speak, or I can send it perhaps to you guys, and if you're able to help send it out, that would be great, please. In fact, here it's here. Just put it in the chat. There you are, Rachel, and everyone else. So that's the link. You get more information on the web page there, and also there's a link to fill in the application form. It's next Friday, so you've got a week if you are going to apply for it.
Great. It's excellent to get that in just at the last minute.
Yes.
We have run over, Kallum. That's been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And well done to all of you that made the very early start this morning. I know
Yes.
it's been a struggle for some this week, but we're covering across our global campuses, so that's worked really well for access. This session has been recorded and will be available on the Vision VLE, so you can come back in and get another sort of update on Kallum's tips, and I will send out the link a little later on today. Thanks so much again, Kallum, from all of us here at the Graduate Futures team. It's great to have you back at the university again, and we look forward to working with you again. And that is the end of our morning session. So thanks very much for coming along, everybody.
Thank you again. I appreciate the opportunity, and I see all the thank yous coming in the chat. So thank you guys for staying as well and getting involved. I appreciate it. But I'm going to head off just now, but if anyone wants to add me on LinkedIn or anything else, happy to speak to you all about the incubator or anything else. But whatever you do for life, guys, I just wish you all the best. So have fun and work hard, but not too hard.
Thanks, Kallum. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
And thanks again for the opportunity, Sarah, Lorraine, and Keith. Appreciate it.